Hi, I'm Elizabeth with Marion County Children's Services, our foster care and community engagement coordinator, and welcome to another episode of our agency podcast. Here with me today, I have Cameron Phelps, and I'll let Cameron go ahead and introduce himself.
I am Cameron Phelps. I'm a placement caseworker here at the agency.
Cool. So what does that mean overall? What does it mean to be a placement caseworker?
I help license and certify adoptive and foster families. I also help support foster families after they've become licensed. And then I also carry a caseload of kiddos that are eligible to be adopted, trying to find them a forever home.
So before we had started, Cameron and I were having a discussion, and I had said it might be really hard for me to not chime in too much when he's talking about what he's doing, because this is the role that I used to do. So hopefully we can give you guys some great information as far as what the placement unit looks like, what we do here, and then how we help support our families in the community. So Cameron, if someone is interested in becoming a foster parent, can you kind of walk through the process between I'm interested and I don't know where to go or what to do with it, and clear through to being licensed?
Yeah. So first thing you would do is you would go to our website. You would fill out an inquiry form, and it would then go to Elizabeth, who then would reach out and kind of give you some options for pre-service. Pre-service is just the initial training for foster parents that you have to take. It's 36 hours. We have one coming up in November. After that, the end of the class, you would get an application to fill out to become a foster parent. And then that would go to our placement supervisor, Carrie, who then would assign you to a worker, either myself or Karina. We would then call you, kind of introduce ourselves, and then set up what we call a home visit. And there's really 3 home visits that we try to do, sometimes more if we have to get more information. And we just basically talk about why you want to become a foster parent, what you expect from kind of being a foster parent, and then some other information about you. Once you get that done, then we do a safety audit just to ensure that your house is safe and make sure that you have everything that you need to become a foster parent, and abide by all of the rules.
So I remember when I was in your role, and we would have a lot of conversations like with people who, and even now I have conversations with people who are interested in becoming foster parents, and they've gotten to the application point, and the application is extensive, and I've had people complain about that. And
Really?
and you know what I explained to them is, well, we are trusting you with other people's kids, so we do have to have a very extensive process. So obviously, when we're doing a short podcast, we have to kind of condense that information for you. But I think you did a really good job in highlighting, we really try to get to know a person in whole. And really in every position I've had at the agency where I've talked to, people on the community, families that we've worked with, whether it be biological through intake or ongoing, or our foster families that we're licensing, one of the things I tell them is it's a little unfair because I'm going to ask you everything about your life and then share nothing about mine. But I think that is important because obviously
Right.
We're putting those kids in that home. So can you talk about then, after you've licensed a family, what can someone expect then at that point?
Well, that just depends on kind of what's going on in the community, obviously.
Sure.
At our agency, we have what's called 30 Days to Family. So we try, I'm sure you've talked about that in past podcasts, but we really try to find family first. But if there is a situation where we can't find family, then that's when we will try to match up the kiddo with one of our foster families. We'll give a call, kind of introduce what we know about the kid, and then see if they're able to be a good fit for that kid or not.
And that's probably why it's important to know a family through that
Right.
process.
Yeah.
So you know how they fit, a child might fit
Exactly.
in that family. So can you also, I want to kind of backtrack here. And I think, when we're talking about this, it makes me think about that. Like what kind of time frame would someone be looking at? Like if they're interested in becoming a foster parent and maybe they've already now taken the classes and they've gotten that application, what kind of time frame are they looking at now between I've got my application and I have a child in my home?
It depends. We try to get all of our families licensed within 3 months of getting the initial application. Between when you have a kid, that really just depends again on what's going on, but generally between 3 to 6 months is when we would expect for them to be licensed and ready to take placements.
Okay. So if I have completed the application, like I think one of the things that we should talk about for just a quick second is that application process. So what does that look like?
It is an intense application. We're going to ask where you've lived in the past 10 years, where you've worked in the last 10 years. We're going to ask for 3 references for foster, an additional if you want to also be licensed to adopt. I mean, we really dive into your autobiography outline, talk about yourself, your family support contacts, who you want in case, you need someone to watch the kiddos or something like that. I mean, really, we talk about everything in your life on that application.
Yeah. So, and then when we're looking at having kids in the home, like you said, I think, we have kind of seen that slow down a little bit at the agency, but I think some of that is for multiple reasons. Yes, we did just have our kinship podcast and talked about, all those kinship services, but also we know, and this has been pretty widely talked about in the news and everything, that, kids have not been around mandated reporters. So we haven't seen a lot of child abuse and neglect. And so it's not that it's not happening, it's just it's not being reported necessarily. Right. So I think that, our agency is trying to do a great job of preparing for that scenario if, we get the surge that has been predicted. But at the same time, when we get these foster families and we get kids placed in the home, what are some of the expectations then that we have for a foster parent?
Well, obviously, we're going to want you to take care of them and keep them safe, provide
sure.
for all of their
That's
basic
great.
needs. Some kiddos are going to need additional services that we would expect you to take them to, doctor appointments, counseling if they're involved with counseling, making sure they get to school, whatever school looks like, even though right now, who knows?
Making arrangements for the alternative, sure.
When they first get there, they have to do a communicable disease screening just to make sure that they don't have any obvious diseases or anything like that. You're responsible for getting their dental work done twice a year, eye exams, and then their physicals yearly.
So taking care of a child just like you would any other one in your home.
Right. And then also being involved with the agency and making sure that the parents have visits at the agency if that's something that occurs, and really just being kind of a support for that kid.
Yeah, I think that's something that we try to do, and I have seen kind of progressing pretty well over the years, is getting foster parents as a member of that treatment team that, they have some great input. Now our foster parents are regularly invited to court hearings. We really try to have that input, but then we also know that the support that they can provide to biological parents and vice versa, because, if a child is in your home, the biological parent is the expert on that child. And so it's imperative to have that relationship and then helping transition that child back home. So that's kind of, I think, the hard part that, everyone gets anxious about.
Right.
But at the same time, I think you might agree with me, like that's a success story in our eyes too.
Right. Yeah.
So, can you talk for just another minute maybe about, we talked, about supporting families after they're licensed. So what does that look like?
Sometimes it's just being an ear for the foster parents. They just need someone to listen when they're experiencing whatever it is that they're going through with, whether it's the child or the biological family or the providers that they're linked with. Another kind of way that we support is just linking you with those resources in the community, helping you find childcare, helping you get them enrolled in school, making sure that transition for the kiddo going into the home is as seamless as possible.
Yeah, and any other needs that the child might have too, like mental health services. I know we utilize a lot of that in the community as well. So, well, we are to the time where we have our super secret question that Cameron did not get prepped on. And so what I'll do is I'll ask you the question and then I'll kind of talk to the people who are listening for a second and then I'll come back to you to answer. Okay. So it gives you a second to prep. So what advice would you give to someone who is looking to go into a field like this or, our field specifically. So you can kind of think about that. And I just want to let the community know again that, we absolutely need foster parents. We have done a lot of work to improve and increase our kinship services, which you've heard about in the past with our podcast with Tony and Liz. And so now we know that we still need foster families. And so when we talk about that, the kinship stuff, I don't want you to think that we don't have this need, because we absolutely do. And again, we love to have our foster families that are a part of the team, that, we can take your input and you can also, implement some of the things maybe that we talk about, or, things that a counselor recommends. We really try to link everything together. So we love our foster families. We appreciate our foster families, and we definitely look forward to building relationships with more foster families. So, all right, Cameron. So what advice do you have for someone who would be looking to go into our field or a similar field?
I would say have a healthy outlet. Take care of yourself. So my self-care is I play video games. It's mindless. It doesn't make me think about some of the stressful things that we go through on a day-to-day basis here. Just finding something that you can do for you, and just remember to take care of yourself.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
I think that's great advice for pretty much everybody.
Yes.
So, I don't think anyone can preach self-care enough.
Right.
And having an understanding that it is probably one of the most selfless things you can do. So, all right. Well, that about wraps it up. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with our community?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, we are so thankful that you took the time to watch this podcast with us. And if you, as always, have any questions or any information that you would like to have us expand on, please let us know. I will put my information down below, and you can obviously comment down below or send us an email, phone call, anything to help improve that communication with Marion. We love you, and we are so thankful for your support and just being in this town. Thanks.
Thanks.